My name is Loui McCurley. I first joined search and rescue as a member of Alpine Rescue Team in Colorado in 1985. Alpine is an MRA accredited team. That means that it undergoes a rigorous recertification through the Mountain Rescue Association every year. So the standards are pretty high. So that was my introduction to rescue in general. I'm a bit of a self-proclaimed rescue geek. I love ropes and technical information and technical stuff so much that I eventually went to work for PMI, Pigeon Mountain Industries. And through PMI, I eventually launched a training company called Vertical Rescue Solutions to share some of my passions with others. A true rope rescue technician is always learning. Gravity and physics, they stay the same year after year, but equipment and systems and even philosophies, they change a lot. So a great rescue technician is always going to be questioning, what, why am I doing what I do the way I do it? Should I change? Why should I change? Is the newest product out in the field, is the newest thing that I'm seeing, whether it's a product, a technique, a system, is it being promulgated because it's really better in some way? Why is it better? Is it really solving a rescue problem, or is it just kind of something that somebody created for marketing reasons or to have a new training shtick to sell? First and foremost, a true rope rescue tech is always learning. We're always so happy when springtime comes. Like everybody just wants to get out in the field. They want to get back out into nature. And in our eagerness, just as outdoor recreationalists, sometimes we can get in over our heads. Sometimes the hikers and climbers that are out there, they're not prepared for what they might encounter in their outings, whether it's unpredictable weather or a winter that hasn't quite finished yet, or maybe it's just the result of too much Christmas pie. But springtime hikers and climbers can get themselves into some pretty challenging predicaments. Likewise, as rescue technicians, sometimes we too can be not quite prepared for spring. So depending on what part of the country you're in, the shoulder seasons can be a real challenge. I live in Colorado. In Colorado, springtime is a time of winter, it's a time of summer, it's a time of beauty, it's a time of 4 feet of snow on the ground, it's a time of raging, rushing rivers with snow melt, it's a time of dry ground. So even knowing what equipment to wear, what equipment to bring with you when you go on a rescue can be a bit of a challenge. In some areas, call volumes can go way down in winter months. And if we as rescuers, if we're not recreating outdoors or taking care of ourselves physically, sometimes that can be an issue as well. So I would suggest that really just our own fitness, it can be an issue, and then also the kinds of rescues that we might encounter can be an issue. Rope rescuers, like any kind of rescue, it's a learned skill, but there are people that have more aptitude than others. You know, there's people that have a proclivity for the medical field. There's people who have a proclivity for firefighting. There's people who have a proclivity for technical rope rescue. There's definitely an internal drive. That said, whether you have that internal drive or not, it's certainly something that can be learned and studied. And even if you have that drive, we should never replace the idea of education and learning and knowledge and training with just what comes through our fingertips. Just being a good climber doesn't make us a technical rescuer. Just being a rope access technician doesn't make us a technical rescuer. Technical rescue is a specialized, specific skill that can and should be learned. With the advent of cell phones and personal locator devices, these days often we actually have communication with our subjects before we ever reach them. That wasn't the case back in the day, right? So now we often have a cell phone call or even a two-way spot type device that we're understanding exactly where the person is, what kind of predicament they've gotten themselves into, what their injuries might be, whether there's anybody else around. This is a great time to use that communication to calm the patient. If you have them on a phone, on a cell phone, it's a good time to get an idea of what hazards exist. You can begin your scene size up before you ever get on scene, which is pretty handy. Once you do get on scene, though, assigning somebody to connect with that person. Assigning somebody to specifically speak with the subject is super, super important. Imagine yourself laying there or stranded on a rope or wherever it is you are, and you've got all this rescue chaos happening around you, and all these people run up to you, and everybody's coming to the rescue and coming to help. But you're a little overwhelmed. So if you have one person that you can just connect with, that person is your touchstone, if you will. The questions that the rescuers are asking are kind of channeled through that person. Your feedback is channeled through that person. And in that way, I've found that you can get a much more clean line of communication, much more consistent information, and much more quality information going both directions. Social media, believe it or not, is as active in the backcountry as it is in the front country. And in fact, as a rescuer, I've been on operations where we've had people just on site, whether they're tourists or just people in the area, friends of the subject, filming the whole thing and even posting it on social media before we're even out of the field. I've been in situations where the subject is posting on social media during the rescue. And that can be pretty disconcerting as a rescuer. It can be pretty intimidating, I suppose. And there's not really a whole lot you can do to stop it. But I have found that by engaging the subject directly and making them a part of their own rescue, you can kind of get a handle at least on some of that. Communication kind of begins at the training phase. So when we train in technical rescue, everything that we do, not just the stuff that we're doing and the knots that we're tying and the systems that we're using, those things are kind of just the beginning of what we're learning. But one of the most important things that we're learning is how to foster a spirit of cooperation and collaboration and interaction. That is ultimately what every technical rescue hinges on, because no one rescue is like another. There's no two rescues that are alike. So when we end up on an operation, there's a lot of thinking going on. There's a lot of what do we do next, and how do we respond to this situation, and where's the best anchor in this situation, and what's the subject's needs in this situation. You know, how big are they, how small are they, how scared are they, how injured are they, and all of those things. What equipment do we have on hand, what people do we have on hand? All those things are going to affect the decisions that we make and how we affect a rescue. So we have to be able to, as rescuers, communicate with one another about that. I can't overemphasize the importance of respect, mutual respect. As rescuers, we're often type A personalities, right? We believe in ourselves and we want to jump in and get the job done, and that's great. But we need to learn to believe in our teammates as well, even if that means that you kind of have to dig deep to find that place of honor and respect for your teammates. You've got to have that connection. The worst thing for a rescue team is when people start to undermine one another on a rescue team and think that, well, I'm Superman, but that guy, he doesn't know anything. Finding and fostering those connecting points is very important. One of my mentors, Hunter Holloway, he used to say about our rescue team, he used to say, I don't care who you are or what your limitations are, if you have a heart to help, we're going to find a place, we're going to find a role where you can make a difference.